Alright guys, TacticalRab back again today. Hope you're all doing well and enjoying your day so far. And as the days tick by here in Rostermania, it's becoming increasingly clear that Crimsix may well not get on a team for next season in a crazy turn of events, given the way Rostermania has gone so far. Scump reckons that he would be shocked if Crim doesn't get on a team. Formal reckons it's about time coming, but still, Scump kind of defending Crim and saying, look, given what he brings to a squad, it seems like he would be surprised if Crim doesn't find a home somewhere. Very much intrigued to your thoughts in the comment section below. Hit the like button if you enjoy, subscribe if you are new as always. I would greatly appreciate it. Really upset the channel. Thank you very much indeed for doing that. I'm not far off 85k at all. Let's keep on going. Firstly, this Arcitys, blessed with the people around me. Of course, the trade, kind of not really a trade, but kind of a trade between Slasher and Arcitys goes down between FaZe and the Los Angeles Guerrillas. He ends up with Hook, Spartan, Neptune, of course. Questionable team, kind of, because I think it's a team with a pretty high ceiling, but also a relatively low floor. Interesting to me that they decided to keep those guys around, but I suppose they've got confidence in them that they can still work it out. And with Arcitys as a leader, maybe that's going to be the case. But Arcitys and Spartan now on 3-year deals, so it kind of has to work out at least with those guys. But that's the thing really with Arcitys now being a main AR again, of course, as he has been for a while, but also with the question of whether Cellium was going to be a main AR, and also we've got other guys like Attach now becoming main AR type players over the Minnesota Rocker. It's really difficult for main ARs to get into that position. And this is the question I'm going to raise here with Crimsix in a second, as to whether a main AR for Crimsix is really where he should be. Because, back in the day, like in, Ghost Black Ops 2, even later games, he would not be the main AR for the team, most certainly. He was, even an SMG at times, or generally just a flex player, right? You think about the OpTic Dynasty, when there was Formal, Karma, Crimsix, and Scump, like, generally Crimsix would be in that flex position. In the most recent years, Crim has kind of been one of these players that's moved into a main AR role, but nowadays you kind of need your main AR, theoretically, to drop good numbers. That's how most teams have success nowadays, and it's not like most teams are going to have an AR that's dropping a 1.1. In fairness, you can have an accuracy type situation on Seattle, where he drops a 0.95, but the rest of his team is absolutely dominant. That's one option. Also, that's kind of what Crimsix had this year with the New York Subliners, but that's still an interesting one to mention. This also Arcitys' brother Prestinni kind of confirming that he's not going to be on FaZe any longer, and he's actually going to team with Ghosty as a team of two. So pretty interesting team of two. Of course, Ghosty, the guy who was with Sensor for quite some time, so I'm guessing the Ghosty Sensor duo is over going forwards. But yeah, as he says, I won't be holding off the game, even if it's the worst ever released. Got to make it back. So Prestinni is kind of committed to making it back into the Pro League, of course. Had a good couple of years at the start of the CDL, really, of course. Well, he came off winning the World Championship in Black Ops 4 at the end of the CWL, goes into the CDL on Florida, I believe, early on. Then he takes a quick break from the team, comes back to the Chicago Huntsman later in the year, and then since then it's been a pretty difficult time. Of course, he was on Seattle Surge last year, to not particularly great effect. This season was FaZe's sub, and now he's going to try and get back in the Pro League. Let's dive into the Crimsix stuff then, because, like, the funny thing is about Crim here is that the discussion has been he burns bridges with everyone, and therefore he's not on a team. The funny thing I thought is that he's not just burning bridges with players and, potential organizations, right? Because I'm sure New York Subliners probably don't want to go near him either, even if, like, the players wanted him on the team. New York would probably be like, well, do we really want to risk it again after what happened the last couple of seasons? Probably not. But, like, it's not just the players and the teams he's burning the bridges with. It's even, like, clothing brands, it's MBoZe, it's whoever you want. Crim's going to burn a bridge somewhere. So I'll just share this because I didn't see this the other day, but I didn't think it was going to be relevant for a video. But it now is relevant for a video because Crim talks about the kind of MBoZe's rich and lowly brand. And of course, people are going to have different thoughts on whether it's a good brand, whether it's a bad brand. Everyone's entitled to their opinion, of course, but Crim comes out on stream and he basically says, yeah, I would never collaborate with rich and lowly. I would never, the fact that they're succeeding is just shows the poor state of society.
I think it'd be a crime if I did an RNL logo next to my logo. I don't think you should be bragging about being rich or lonely. How they have taken off is honestly, I'm gonna keep it a buck with y'all, right? I'm gonna just be honest here. I like BoZe. I like everyone at that company that I know, but them succeeding made me lose faith in society.
So in a sense, this is kind of like classic Crim in a way, right? Because like it was so unnecessary, arguably, for him to say this, because he says like, I like BoZe and I like those guys. They do a good job, but he's just not a fan of their brand and the designs or whatever, which, of course, everyone's entitled to their opinion, but it seems somewhat unnecessary for Crim to go out and say this. And obviously, BoZe isn't going to be happy about it, because I think even BoZe was kind of saying on the podcast that, he believes Crim should probably still get a spot somewhere, right? Obviously, a very winning player. We'll see that in a second. But, yes, BoZe said, I supported you on the podcast. All these accomplishments. Why do you still act like a geek, right? So I thought this pretty funny, to be honest. Burning bridges all across the bark. Just as I finished recording this video, actually, I just noticed that Crim had actually come up with a response, so I thought I would just share it. The full context on this, I'm legitimately confused as to how RNL has been so successful despite using that specific name itself. It doesn't really seem to like the name too much. Just goes to show how good you all are at what you do. I meant for it to be some dark humor, confusion, as well as it being a compliment. My bad, man. So, I mean, yeah, didn't necessarily come across like that, but yeah, Crim may be mending this bridge before it gets fully burnt. And I mean, yeah, obviously Algeria and Rich and Lonely, they simply cannot survive right now. The wrath of Crim this offseason has been absolutely undefeated. But I mean, yeah, that's the thing. Another example, I suppose, of why it's difficult for Crim right now to get on the team. But the fact of the matter is that his record is incredibly good. There are only 12 teams, and I do wonder if Crim thinks here, if he does want to get a spot, which he might not. We talked about some reasons the other day. He actually said on stream that, you know, focusing on his health and the relationship with his wife is paramount to him because it's been really difficult the last couple of years. The stresses have taken a toll on him all across the board, and unless he gets really the perfect opportunity, he might just decide not to compete anyway. But like, you know, I'm surprised, to be honest, and I think Scump is as well, we'll see in a second, that more organizations aren't considering Crim's services because he's won, what, 38, 39 championships in his history. Obviously, the guy knows how to win and to build a winning environment, even if there is some potential risk involved. But every single year, there's been an Infinity Ward game. He's won the World Championship that season, right? So back in Ghost, like, he's the Infinity Ward demon. He won in Ghost on Complexity. He won an Infinite Warfare on OpTic, of course, and he won Modern Warfare 2019 on the Dallas Empire. So we're going back to another Infinity Ward game. This is like Crimsix is generally best at Infinity Ward games for whatever merit that takes, and he actually really liked it. He says Modern Warfare original, so like, well, not the original one from back in, you know, 2007 or whatever, but you know, this one in 2019 he actually enjoyed more than most. This is the thing, right? Crim is probably going to be better at this coming game than he was at last year's game, arguably, and his record on the Infinity War titles is pretty immense, but seemingly no one wants to give him a spot. Now, apparently his agent has reached out to everyone and no one even wants him. Now, whether that's no one wanting him or whether that's no one can give him an offer that he actually is going to entertain, because, you know, Paris might want to give him an offer, but like, you know, if he's only going to get 100k or something and he was getting paid like 380k last year on New York, he's obviously not going to be happy about that. So for Crim, it's probably going to have to be an org that's in a reasonable geographic location that he can maybe play where he lives or whatever. They're going to have to pay him enough money. Like, he's going to have to want to play with the players and feel like there might not be too much friction there. Like, there's just a lot of kind of hurdles to Crim getting a team. But still, the OpTic guys believe that there would be a massive surprise in their opinion if one of these teams doesn't pick up Crim. Scump actually said on the OpTic podcast a few days ago that he would be shocked if Crim doesn't get a spot. He reckons he's kind of the last guard now of that OpTic Dynasty team. Formal isn't so surprised because he thinks the bridges that have been burned have kind of come back to bite him. But yeah, Scump says he'd be shocked if Crim doesn't get a spot.
I just think I think it's a mistake league-wise.
Yeah.
I mean, obviously you want a roster to play to win, but to not have Zen in there, to not have, I don't see Clay or Crim, that's crazy to me.
Yeah, that is crazy.
Crim one's crazy.
The Crim one's crazy?
I mean, the guy's got 40 chips, but you got to think he just burned every bridge he's been on.
Yeah.
That's like why I think he doesn't have a team. I think that, yeah, I think he just burned a lot. I think he knows that too.
Am I the last one? The last one standing?
Do Crim and
yours too. You lit yours on fire. You lit your bridge on fire.
Who?
Crim.
No, I'm saying like from the old days. Am I the last one?
If they don't get
if
on
they
a
don't
team.
play, well, I've heard a lot of things that Clay's getting on team though.
Oh, okay.
Like
I'm sure
everyone's
Clay
I think Clay has said that he's had like multiple offers. Like Clay's gonna be on the team.
He's a little more like Clay knows what he's doing.
I would be shocked if Porter doesn't get on a team.
I wouldn't be shocked, but it would be crazy.
It would be. You wouldn't be shocked.
I would be shocked. Like
I'd
I said, I think he's burned a lot of his bridges. I think.
I mean, still.
At a point, you need a bridge to get to a team.
Do you guys know if Crim and Kismet get along? Do they get along?
I think they all get along with Kismet.
So Scump is kind of implying there, right? They're like, look, given Crim's what he brings to a team and the fact that every single year Crim is in a team that at least is somewhat competitive, like he's not getting a spot right now. Now, Formal, of course, knows full well that the bridges have been burnt in the past, especially this thread, of course, from last year, when Crim versus Formal was quite the hot topic at the time, when things were kind of popping off, as you guys can well see. So I mean, yeah, Crim Formal, maybe their relationship isn't the best. Crim's relationship, in fairness, with a lot of star players in the league, as it presently stands, also isn't the best, right? And we did kind of talk about this probably halfway through last season, that like, look, given all the drama in New York, is it even possible that, like, will Hydra want a team with Crim again next year? Will Kismet want a team with Crim again next year? Probably not, in fairness, and therefore you've got to find new players for Crim to team with, which gets increasingly difficult, especially when Crim is no longer like an undeniable type talent, right? Because, I mean, yes, slaying is key. We saw Octane say the other day that, it doesn't matter what intangibles you bring, if you've got a 0.8 or a 0.9, like that's not going to cut it, right? You've got to just straight up play better. So that's the thing. Many general managers might say, well, you know, Crim has a fair bit of risk to him, and also he's not exactly going to drop a 1.2 as a main AR, so like that's not a guarantee either. So maybe there's more risk than there is upside. But I don't know. I feel like Crim could just inspire such a winning mentality and culture with the right teammates, in fairness, that you know, as I say, every single year Crim at least forms some sort of team which is competitive, even if on paper it doesn't even look that good. So you know, look, we'll see how it goes for him. But that's the thing, really, as Crim kind of has obviously done this article now. There's very few teams that are even viable anymore. Like and he's even said that he doesn't want to go and like coach OpTic or something. He'd prefer just to do content. Like I do wonder what would happen if he was on like OpTic's bench. I think that would be absolutely hilarious, but it's probably not going to happen. But yeah, OpTic surge. I mean, that's the thing also. That's what I was kind of thinking about Crim here, is that maybe him being a main AR is now no longer viable, just because there are some teams where they might need a flex player. But I think a lot of teams are kind of locked down what they want as their main AR, and it's going to be really difficult for Crim to slot in there. And I do think Crim can actually work as a flex, right? I don't think he has to be a main to succeed, to be perfectly honest. So, I mean, we'll see how that one goes. Maybe if Crim changes his mind or thinks, you know what, I still do want to compete, let me just give my all to try and get one more year in the league, even if that means changing roles or something, right? But yeah, Minnesota, Gorillas, FaZe, they're all locked in. Toronto, we know what they're going to be. Boston, of course, like, you know, obviously the question was there around their main AR, right? But now they are building around Methodz, and they've got Beans as their sub, so there's a world in which Methodz gets insighted again. But, you know, Crim is not really going to be here, you would imagine. That was maybe one option for Crim, but probably that's not going to happen anymore. One other question really is these two teams. Now, the fact of the matter is he's not going to go back to New York, really. Now, I think Chrome was actually saying that Priester is now pretty much locked in, so I'd heard that maybe they weren't guaranteed on Priester, but now I think they've kind of locked him in, so there's no even flex role there for Crim, like not like Hydra and Kismet are really going to want to play with Crim again regardless. But, you know, I suppose maybe Kismet would, I don't know, but Hydra most certainly doesn't after the whole "you're dead to me" shenanigans, so that's not an option. And then Florida Mutineers, the only option really here would be, I think, a flex position, because it seems like Florida are committed to Major Mainek as their main AR, which I think is kind of fair enough, right? He's a solid main, good at search and destroy and stuff. Maybe they're going to go for the whole 2-3-5 team concept, but maybe Crim here as a flex could honestly work instead of Brack or Gismo that they're currently considering. So maybe that's like the only real option, because London are probably going to get Paul, and then you effectively run out of options, because obviously on Vegas you've got Temp, who's going to be the flex over there, and probably Clay as the main, although there might be a spot for Crim there as the main as well, depending on how things go. But I mean, yeah, obviously difficult time for Crim. Scump admits he would be surprised if he doesn't get a spot, but it does look more and more likely by the day. And look, in fairness, maybe this is about the right time for Crim to step away. But and the thing is really for Crim, and it's also a question mark that Scump might have in his head, is that he doesn't want to, like, Scump when he decides to step away, doesn't want to step away with a whimper, you know what I mean? Because Crim's last couple of years and Clay's last couple of years have not exactly been spectacular. Crim's has been pretty good, right? It's a decent season for Crim to go out on, in fairness. He won an event at the Prem, he made the Cinderella story to the World Championship. It's not bad. Clay, though, let's say he goes to Vegas, has a bad year and then has to retire. It's like, you know, do you really want your career to end like that? Maybe it doesn't matter to you guys, but I feel like for a legacy perspective, that matters to a certain extent. And obviously, it's incredibly difficult to actually go out on top, but, you know, Scump might be considering that if he thinks, you know what, if I'm going to start being a player that's getting top 4, top 6 every event, then, you know, what's really the point going out like that? Might as well just call it a day now, but, you know, maybe we'll see more on that going forward. Just wanted to mention this as we close out the video. Actually thought this might be interesting to some of you guys. It's practically an irrelevant statistic, but it's kind of interesting that if the roster rumors that we currently see are indeed correct, as we just looked at, then there will be only 4 players that will be on the same franchise for all 4 seasons of the league. The FaZe trio, of course, because Arcitys was never there year 1 regardless, he was on the Huntsman. They've been on Atlanta FaZe every single year. CleanX has been on Toronto Ultra every single year. There are some other players that you can consider here. CleanX gives a nice reply. Like, I didn't really think about this too much before. I did think about the OpTic guys, right? Because, of course, Scump technically has been on, like, OpTic for the last 3 years, but it was the Chicago Huntsman team, and they were based in Chicago, and then he went to the Dallas spot, so I would consider that to be different franchises. Obviously, if you just consider names, then maybe Dashy has played for OpTic all 3 years, because he was on OGLA, OpTic Chicago, OpTic Texas next year, so that would be 4 years in a row on OpTic, but different franchises, different ownership groups, that type of stuff. Probably the best example actually is Shotzi and Illy, which I didn't really consider, is because, like, technically they've been on Dallas Empire and now OpTic Texas, that are different, but they're still in kind of the Dallas spot that's now called Texas and still owned kind of by Envy, right? So probably that's the best example of players that could also be on this list for 4 years in a row. But yeah, I don't know, thought that was maybe kind of interesting. Very much intrigued to your thoughts on all this stuff in the comment section below. Hit the like button if you enjoyed, subscribe if you were new as always. Take care, and I'll see you next time.